Picture this. My family's camping at Alturas Lake, one of my favorite places on earth. It's 10 p.m. and we're all sitting around the campfire, deep in conversation. My dad asks my sister if she's planning to have kids, and she's responding as the fire crackles and pops in the background. When my mom interrupts, "Okay, everyone, let's get together and take a photo." I groan, "Mom, you're not going to be able to see anything but the campfire in the photo." "Oh, come on, Alecia, we don't do this very often. Scoot in next to your sister and let's take a photo." Now, I know this scenario all too well, as it has played out hundreds of times throughout my childhood and adult life. And while it makes for a well-documented life and a very thorough birthday party slideshow, it illustrates the priority of the photo to enjoying and being present in the moment. Now, I love and I appreciate my mom so much. Her nickname, Flash, is well-deserved. We learn habits from our parents that we often forget to pause and question whether they work for us as adults. By the time I was in my 20s, I'd clearly become Flash Jr. It took me more than a decade to realize that I had a problem. I was a photoholic. When I was pregnant with my first child, I discovered blogging. And before I knew it, I was capturing experiences way better than experiencing them. I spent countless hours taking, editing, uploading, and posting only the best photos to attract likes and followers. I followed other bloggers and became very active on Twitter and Facebook, which became part of an even bigger problem that I was addicted to my phone. I was constantly on it and even learned stretching exercises to address the physical manifestations of this addiction. I remember thinking, as I breastfed my child, while simultaneously editing a photo of her, juggling my phone in my other hand, as soon as she's old enough to engage with me, I'll stop. Now, I didn't stop on my own, but it was that very engagement that sparked change. It took my girls becoming old enough to talk and eventually plead with me to please get off my phone, as I was way more interested in adding the perfect filter to the adorable photo of them ice skating than just ice skating. "Mommy, please come ice skate with us instead of looking at your phone." That was the wake-up call. What was I doing? I suddenly knew that I needed to take a hard look at my photo-taking habits and change, because something wasn't right. And it didn't make it any better, but when I looked around, I realized I wasn't the only one. In fact, there's a rampant epidemic of photoholism in today's social media-driven society. For us photoholics, a moment's not real unless it's captured in a photo. And yet the very act of capturing the photo causes us to lose the moment. There's data to prove this. Research by Linda Henkel of Fairfield University determined that taking photos can actually impair our abilities to recall details of an event. In her 2014 study, students were led on a museum tour and asked to take photos of certain works of art and only observe others. When they were tested the next day, they were less able to recall details of the objects that they'd photographed. Now, a number of people have told me, "Well, I take photos to remember things," but this tells us something very different. It actually makes us forget them. So a photo of a person's business card, if you want to remember an email address, probably a good idea. But of an experience that you want to remember, not so much. So my initial solution to this problem was clear. It's time that I stop taking so many photos, be present, and enjoy the people around me. But then as I started talking to people, I quickly realized that this topic is a lot more complicated than I originally understood. In my own unscientific survey of about 100 respondents, most of whom are Facebook friends, I asked people about their photo-taking habits, and the answers were enlightening. One takeaway is that people love photos, both the photos that they take and those from their friends and family. When I asked if people wished if they took more or fewer photos, 38% wish they take more photos, while 53% feel like they take the right amount. So a whopping 91% of people basically have no problems with their photo-taking habits. And yet, when I asked about their friends and family's habits, I got a whole lot of feedback. It's not me, it's just all you people with the annoying habits. Denial is the first stage. So here's the dirt on what everyone else is doing that's annoying, not you, of course. And now, sit back and get comfortable, because there's a lot of them. These are the pet peeves, and I've put them into 3 categories. And while none of you are to blame for any of these things, I will admit, I went back through my photos, and I'm guilty of every single one of them. So the first category is what I'm going to call NOMO. You've heard of FOMO, fear of missing out. This is the response. I did not miss out. An emphatic statement that I not only didn't miss out, but I'm going to show you that I was there and post it on social media to prove it. Look, I'm a skier. I was up on the mountain today. I went wakeboarding. Are you jealous? Not only did I enjoy the beautiful summer day, but because I want to project an image of being athletic and outdoorsy, I did it with a mountain bike ride. Whether it's the fancy new restaurant in town, a political gathering, or a concert, if I'm truly honest with myself, I'm only posting that photo to prove I was there. This often takes the form of selfies. Selfie didn't exist in the Oxford Dictionary until 2013, when it was heralded as word of the year for its suddenly common use in social media. Why are we compelled to take copious amounts of photos of ourselves? Do we show them to other people? Do we look at them ourselves in case we forgot what we looked like yesterday? Research by Emerald Group Publishing determined we take selfies for 3 reasons. 1, to convey happiness. 2, to show beauty. And 3, to enhance our self-esteem. We're basically taking selfies to manage the perception of ourselves with other people. Oh, and their research also found women aged 16 to 25 spend 5 hours a week taking selfies. 5 hours. And for goodness sakes, we've invented a stick to make this easier. A friend of mine attended a parade with her brother where President Obama made an appearance. And as the president was passing by, her brother was turned completely away from the parade in selfie position, trying to capture a picture of himself with the president. A photo to show on social media and prove that he saw the president. But the irony, he actually didn't see the president. He was turned completely away from the parade in selfie position and chose an alternate version of that moment. Now, the final NOMO is the annoyance I heard most frequently as I've talked to people about this topic. Phones at concerts are changing the entire concert-going experience, and we're affecting others. Why are we compelled to record an artist singing a song when oftentimes we pay good money to be there and experience it? The recordings take up space on our phones, and do we ever really watch them again? Instead, we're transforming our role from concert goer to terrible videographer, and we're affecting people with our phones. It's gotten so bad that artists like Alicia Keys, Dave Chappelle, and the Lumineers are embracing technology and bands to create phone-free zones. And it's not just the concerts for professional singers. Have you attended an elementary school program lately? The next category is perfection, having the perfect photo to capture the moment and not just a photo. Now, I love to edit photos. It's fun and it's easy, and there's so many cool apps these days. You can add filters, crop out imperfections, but why are we editing them in the first place? We're basically saying the original's not good enough and we need to alter it in some way to make it closer to perfect. And we delete the bad photos altogether. I suspect you know what I'm talking about. Now, a little editing can be fun, but a good rule of thumb when you've gone too far is when your daughter's skin looks tan in the middle of winter, or her eyes are glowing like a White Walker from Game of Thrones. Asking people to continuously pose for photos gets back to my original beef with my mom. When we're all engaged in a conversation or activity of some sort, it can be disruptive to ask everyone to stop, turn, smile, so I can add a photo to my memory trove where everyone's looking and smiling. And oftentimes, it's not even how we were authentically engaging in the first place. A striking feature of all of our pose photos is just how many of them there are. When I went back through all of my posed group photos, I found that there were 6 to 10 versions of them, when the first one more or less captures the essence of the moment. And rather than agree on how we're all going to share photos, we find ourselves all taking the same one, which removes every single one of the photographers from the moment to the photo. I've noticed that this one's extremely prevalent when grandkids are involved. And speaking of kids, by the way, we're teaching these perfection-seeking behaviors to our kids. Remember the last time you took a photo of a child and they wanted to see it and then asked you to take another one? They're learning from us. Now, the final category is social media. What I heard in the survey is that people are okay if we share photos of them on social media, but they'd like for us to ask permission before we share a photo of them or their child. Oh, and to not choose a photo where we look amazing and the rest of the group looks like they just fought a Demogorgon. People can do without the ordinary, everyday photos on social media. Much to my disappointment, they don't care about my new sunglasses or my restaurant burger or any food for that matter, unless it tells a story that's important that others know. We've heard these things before, but we continue to do it. Now that's it for the annoyances or pet peeves, and for my generation, it's just that. But for the generation of kids who are teenagers today, who are being called iGen, the digital natives who've never known life without smartphones and the internet, it's becoming a crisis. I was recently having the conversation with the father of a 14-year-old girl who expressed to me in a very concerned manner, "My daughter took over 10,000 videos of herself in her first year on Snapchat." 10,000 videos. Her defense? Her best friend took over 35,000. Now, I'm a photoholic, but this is something entirely different. And it would be one thing if the photos and the videos and the social sharing were creating happiness, but data is pouring in that proves otherwise. Research by Jean Twenge, a professor of psychology at San Diego State University who focuses on generational differences, began seeing abrupt changes in the data around the behavior and emotional state of today's iGen teens, including dramatically increased rates of loneliness, depression, and even suicide. Her search for the cause of this led her to one answer: smartphones. In her estimation, this generation's on the brink of the worst mental health crisis in decades because of our phones. Our phones, which is what many of us use to take photos. And so with something so dramatic as this, with so much at stake, clearly we need to do something. But what do we do about this? Let's look to what Australian teen model and Instagram star Alecia O'Neill did. She quit what many would deem the dream job and had a single message to her followers: real life isn't through screens. Find the people around you and go do the things you love in the real world. She went back and recaptioned all of her Instagram photos, perfect photos taken in amazing locations, and recaptioned them with the reality of the situations. One bikini shot was recaptioned to read, "Would have taken over 100 photos to make my stomach look this good. Would have hardly eaten that day." Now, O'Neill's younger than me in a land far away, and stakes were high for her as photos were her career. But what I learned from her is that I also needed to take a hard look at my habits and change. So here's what I did. No, I'm not willing to give up my phone altogether. It has a lot of useful functions in daily life. I'm not going to start making collect calls. But I knew that my relationship with my phone needed to change. So I started putting it on the counter when I get home at night, and I leave it there. When I'm out and about, it's in my purse. This includes concerts and meetings and dinners with friends. Speaking of dinner, we instituted a rule at our house that there are no phones at the dinner table, so no one's tempted by the distraction. And when I do want to take a photo, I check myself on the reason why before snapping a photo or two and then putting my phone away. I strive for mostly candid shots, except for when it's really important that everyone's in the photo. We recently went skiing as a family, and the snow this year, it took a while to come, so we'd been waiting and waiting for the good snow. So my photoholic self, once it was finally time to ski, was inclined to take more than a single photo to remember the day. but I refrained, and I asked a fellow skier to take a single shot of us before we started skiing. We didn't pose. I didn't even look at the result before putting away my phone and zipping it into my ski pants for the rest of the day. Well, it doesn't always work out perfectly, but it still captures the moment. Or on hikes with my girls, when I used to capture a dozen photos and share on social media, now I take one and I keep it to myself. Or for their birthday party, when I know that I want more than a single photo to remember the day, but I'm also hosting and engaging with people, I ask a friend to come and take photos. And for the photos that I do take, I put them in an album at the end of the year, which creates new memories looking through them later on. Instead of caring about the photo for whatever insecure or vanity reason, I focus on what's going on with people. And I notice things, like how he looks at her adoringly when she laughs, or how they pay attention to everything I do. The results of these changes have been pretty amazing. I give attention to people and not my phone. It sounds basic, but it's been pretty revolutionary. I recently read the extraordinary book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and I was struck by the following notion. It is our quality of consciousness at this moment that determines the future. And our quality of consciousness is determined by our degree of presence. Every single moment we have a choice. It's a simple one, but an important one. Do I choose to capture the moment or to live in it? Now, Jackie Kennedy had an opinion about this long before the topic was complicated by smartphones and social media, and I have to say, I agree with her. But the key, what's really important here, is that when I do choose to take a photo, it's a choice and not a reflexive action. We owe it to ourselves to pause and think about why we're taking our photos and be authentic about our actions. If you choose to take and post a photo of yourself skiing, that's great, do it. Post it with #NOMO, own your intentions. And when we do take photos, be considerate of others. Now, I'm definitely not saying not to take photos, just that when we do, snap a photo or two, and then put the phone away and return to the reason we're there. We'll have closer connections, fewer but good photos, and more meaningful moments. Thank you.